right, let's get something straight. A lot of the classic rock giants are long gone from the road. But a surprising few, they're still out there, still touring, still fighting the clock every night. Some of these names might make you look twice. And the bonus? That one surprised even longtime fans. Number 10. A summer night riff still pouring out of garages 50 years after it first hit FM. And a band that just kept finding ways not to stay dead. Foghat. Foghat came out of London in 1971. Built on the blues rock grit Dave Peverett, Tony Stevens, and Roger Earl had honed in Savoy Brown, with Rod the Bottle Price bringing his bottleneck slide in from Black Cat Bones. Slow Ride, cut for 1975's Fool for the City, turned them into a North American FM staple. For a lot of fans, it felt like the story should have ended when Price finally stepped off the road in the late 90s, or when Lonesome Dave died in Orlando in February 2000 after a fight with kidney cancer. Those losses should have shut the door completely. But Roger Earl, the lone original still behind the kit, the only one who's been in every lineup, kept that Foghat boogie alive. The shuffle, the crunch, the no-frills drive. Number 9. They sold out Shea Stadium in 72 hours, faster than the Beatles. And more than 50 years later, the band's still out on the road. Grand Funk Railroad. Grand Funk were the blue-collar punch of the early 70s. Mark Farner on vocals and guitar, Mel Shocker on that freight train bass, Don Brewer driving the kit and singing backup. Their 1971 Shea Stadium sellout, 55,000 seats gone in 3 days, is still one of rock's wildest stats. Then came the fallout, a nasty break with manager Terry Knight in 72, lawsuits, a 1976 breakup, and Farner's final exit in 1998. Most bands stayed buried after that. But Brewer and Shocker rebuilt the group in 2000 and never stopped touring. Not a museum piece, just a working band that kept its crowd. Number 8. A lot of listeners think this band froze in the mid-70s, but they never really disappeared. Blue Öyster Cult. Blue Öyster Cult carved their own corner. Buck Dharma's melodic leads, Eric Bloom's dry, deadpan delivery, lyrics that read like late-night sci-fi, albums like Secret Treaties from 1974 and Agents of Fortune from 1976 showed just how sharp they could be. For a lot of casual fans, it felt like the story ended when the arenas thinned out, or when founding keyboardist-guitarist Alan Lanier retired from the road in the mid-2000s before his death in 2013. But Dharma and Bloom kept going, mostly under the radar, touring steadily and even releasing Ghost Stories in 2024. A final studio album built from vaulted recordings from 1978 through 1983, and a 2016 session finished off with new parts by the current band. Yo, go, Godzilla! Number 7. A career built night after night, town after town. The grind never quit, even when their big break still seemed far off. Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick rose on the Midwest club circuit. Robin Zander on vocals and rhythm guitar, Rick Nielsen tearing through lead lines, Tom Peterson on bass, and Bun E. Carlos on drums. I'm going crazy, I'm losing sleep. Years of roadwork set the stage for At Budokan, recorded in April 1978 and released in the U.S. in February 1979. The live album that suddenly made them international stars. Lineup shifts followed, including Peterson's early 80s departure. But the band never stopped touring, and today Xander and Nielsen still walk on stage with that sharp, wiry energy fans remember. If you've caught any of these tours, drop your review below. Number 6. A violin cutting through amplified guitars was once their signature. Few expected that sound to still be hitting stages. Kansas. Kansas emerged from Topeka with an unlikely blend. Robbie Steinhardt's violin, Steve Walsh's bright vocals, and Kerry Livgren's philosophical writing, anchored by founding members Phil Ehart on drums and Richard Williams on guitar. Left Overture made them unavoidable, and Carry On Wayward Son has basically never left classic rock rotation. When Steinhardt stepped away from the road, and later when Walsh retired from the band in 2014, plenty figured the name would fade. But Ehart and Williams, the two original constants, tightened the lineup and kept touring, delivering sets reviewers still describe as precise, polished, and surprisingly strong. Number 5. The creators of one of the most learned riffs in rock history, still turning up on tour posters decades after many thought the story had closed. Deep Purple. The Mark II lineup, Gillan, Blackmore, Glover, Lord, Pace, helped define 70s heavy rock, with Machine Head 1972 at the center. The decades brought exits, reunions, and wild detours, but the core identity held. By the 2000s, Gillan's upper range had naturally thinned, and after co-founder John Lord died in 2012, a decade after he'd left the lineup, some fans figured the touring days should be over. But Purple kept moving, releasing Whoosh in 2020, turning to Crime in 2021, and Equals One in 2024, and still hitting the stage with more focus and discipline than most people ever expected at this age. Number 4. You hear the guitars, the warmth, the glide, and you know the name, the Doobie Brothers. The Doobies, formed in San Jose with Tom Johnston's rhythm punch, Pat Simmons' fingerstyle lines, and vocal blends built for FM radio. Toulouse Street and The Captain and Me sent them nationwide. When Johnston's health forced him to step back in '75, Michael McDonald came in on keys and vocals and slowly reshaped their sound. They survived every shift. Johnston returned. Simmons, the only member on every Doobies record, stayed at the core. And their 50th anniversary tour brought McDonald back for his first full run with the band in decades. The whole machine sounding more intact than most people expected. Number 3. A band whose catalog isn't built for shortcuts. Music full of turns, shifts, and no room to coast. And somehow they're still on the road. Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull, formed in 1967 in Blackpool and broke through on the late 60s London scene, mixing blues phrasing, folk corners, and big winding arrangements, all funneled through Ian Anderson, the band's sole continuous member, singing while firing off flute lines on one leg. Aqualung put them in the spotlight, and Thick as a Brick proved they could turn one idea into an album-length journey. Sun streaking clouds, an old man walked. By the 2010s, Anderson was discussing lung limitations and later revealed a COPD diagnosis, and many assumed the touring chapter was closing. But Tull released the Zealot Gene in 2022 and Rock Flute in 2023.
I remember yet the giants of yore.
And Anderson still approaches the older material with care, precision, and persistence.
Sitting on the park bench.
Number 2. A pair of siblings whose partnership hit peaks, fractures, and long silences, yet somehow found its way back to the stage. Heart.
These dreams go on when I close my eyes.
Heart broke through in the mid-70s with a sound that didn't fit neatly anywhere. Dreamboat Annie introduced them. Little Queen and Barracuda locked them into classic rock radio for good.
Barracuda.
Ann Wilson's voice could shake a hall. Nancy's playing shaped the edges. By the late 2010s, after a very public family rift and years of separate projects, it seemed finished, and plenty of fans figured the stage days were over. But they came back, reuniting for tours and leaning hard into the material that defined them in the first place. And with both sisters back on stage, the next chapter feels more open than anyone expected. Number 1. A guitarist whose Woodstock solo rewired an entire career, and still chasing that same current decades later. Santana.
You got to change your evil ways, baby.
Carlos Santana came up through San Francisco clubs and Fillmore nights, blending Latin percussion, blues phrasing, and Bay Area psychedelia. At Woodstock in '69, just as their debut album was hitting shelves, Soul Sacrifice blew the doors off. The '70s brought Abraxas, Black Magic Woman, Oye Como Va, and decades of reinvention. After Carlos collapsed on stage in 2022, some wondered if long tours were still wise. But he returned, and in 2025 he's still out with the Oneness Tour, leaning deeper into the spiritual and improvisational side that's guided him from the start. Bonus. The Who. The Who erupted out of mid-60s London with force. Pete Townsend windmilling in front of Marshall Stax, Keith Moon tearing across the kit, John Entwistle grounding the chaos, Roger Daltrey learning command by sheer will, Tommy, Who's Next, Quadrophenia, albums that shifted the ground under British rock.
I tip my hat to the Constitution.
By the early 2000s, Moon had been gone for decades. Entwistle died suddenly in 2002, and plenty of people figured that was where the story should end. As Townsend and Daltrey pushed into their 70s, the question only got louder. But they kept going, even carrying full orchestras on tour and tackling arrangements most bands their age wouldn't touch.
Don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's the lineup. Now tell me, who did we miss, and who should be next? Hit the comments.